I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. It's been a busy summer with work, but there was a chance for a quick escape on a road trip filled with scenic sights, a new coaster credit, and exploring a city. From there, it was a drive back north for a quick visit to a favorite theme park of the Pacific Northwest, getting to see the changes made since they opened their newest coaster. It feels like a common theme this year to be heading to Idaho for a couple days, but this trip was a bit different because of departing first thing in the morning instead of the evening right after work. The early fog parted after going further into Snoqualmie Pass, making for the start of a nice scenic drive. This drive would also change from the last two Idaho trips by diverting off of Interstate 90 to Interstate 82 through the central part of Washington toward north central Oregon. This different route offered a chance to enjoy a view back toward Ellensburg and the east side of the Cascade Mountains from a viewpoint right off the highway. From there, it leads towards the Yakima Valley, which offers the chance to see the city of Yakima and two of Washington's volcanic peaks in the distance, Mount Adams to the southeast and Mount Rainier to the east. It's fascinating how diverse the landscape of my home state is, as you have the hilly terrain of western Washington and its vast forests, and you also have these wide-reaching flatter plateaus in the south-central part of the state near the Tri-Cities. After driving over that plateau, it was back down toward a portion of the Columbia River that serves as part of the state line between Washington and Oregon, which would normally be crossed further north in the central part of Washington had I stayed on Interstate 90. North Central Oregon offers similar rolling hills that can be found in central Washington, and in the town of Pendleton, I decided to make a lunch stop, visiting a local restaurant called the Great Pacific. I was hoping to find a place to try some local beers, and this place had a great variety of options from the Northwest, both on draft and in cans that you could purchase for your meal or to go. They also offered a wide variety of local wines produced from vineyards of the region. For lunch, I chose the Summer Nights Kolsch from Block 15 Brewery out of Corvallis, a wonderfully light and refreshing beer that was a great midday brew, along with their pizza they dub the Classic, a pepperoni pizza with Parmesan cheese that's baked on top of it all, on a crust with dough made from locally grown wheat. After a nice local lunch, it was back on the road toward the southeast on Interstate 84. The look of the drive changed with the transition into the Umatilla National Forest, which stretches into the southeastern part of Washington as well, on and along the Blue Mountains. Driving down Interstate 84 offers you the chance to travel a similar path as those who migrated from the eastern United States because it follows portions of the Oregon Trail. Several rest stops in Oregon off of this highway have special markers like this that offer information about the Western journey in which the United States sought to expand the nation from coast to coast. You can probably avoid dysentery during your trip on this ride, as it's far easier to complete now than it was back then. At this point, the views were getting a bit smoky because of the wildfires in the region, but I was getting a bit closer to my first main stop of this mini road trip by crossing the Snake River from Oregon into Idaho and headed for the hills of Bogus Basin. Leading up to the recreation area, Bogus Basin Road offers some great views of the surrounding hills, even with a bit of haze from the wildfires. I'd imagine the views would be even better with clear skies. You'll also see fascinating rock formations and the woods of Boise National Forest. This would be an area that would make for some great hiking on its various trails. But for this visit, I was on a mission of redemption for a previously missed credit at the Bogus Basin Recreation Area. Back in March of last year, during the return trip from Florida for my friends Jay and Chelsea's wedding, We made a stop here as it was close to our route back to Washington, with the hope of getting the Glade Runner Mountain Coaster. Unfortunately, the folks at the ticket window shared that too much snow had fallen on the track for them to run it that day, so the credit was missed. By that evening, we were back in Western Washington, and the following day was when many businesses began closing or modifying their operations due to the pandemic in the early stages. While there had been several trips since that time, none of them were really close to Boise, but my friend Rick wanted to get to Silverwood so he could get his first ride on Stunt Pilot and invited me to join him. Since the days worked out for me to do so, I decided to add the side trip to Boise before meeting him in Spokane with the hope of finding an operating coaster. And it in fact was running today. Besides the Glade Runner, Bogus Basin also offers a variety of summertime activities when skiing is not available, including a number of hiking and mountain biking trails, a disc golf course, and inner tubing. So how was the mountain coaster? The highlights for this thing included 2 turning drops that were pretty good, and then the 2 helixes that you would go through in latter parts of the course. As far as it being worthwhile if you're visiting Boise, it might not be a bad idea to make a trip up to Bogus Basin to try it out. With the redemption credit achieved, I began the drive back down into Boise. Before going for an evening out, I went to my hotel and carefully placed my bag in the room. Once settled in, I went into the heart of downtown as I found that there were multiple breweries and bars within a few blocks of each other, so I had an impromptu pub crawl. The first stop of this crawl was Matlack's Public House Beer Garden. Built inside of an old garage, this seems like a great place to enjoy some drinks with friends, old and new. I enjoyed a delightful Jeremiah Johnson Brewing Honeyweisen out of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I'm partial to Hefeweizens, and this was an excellent take on it, perfect for the warmer Boise temperatures that evening. Stop number 2 that evening was just down the road for Woodland Empire Brewing, which had more of an artsy feel to it and offered a number of pinball machines for those wanting to test their skills at the game. They had a wide variety of brews available from various brewers in their coolers, and a combination of visiting drafts along with their own. I chose their Moondog Amber for this one, and at first I thought it had a fruitier taste than I was used to with an amber, but after the second and third sips, it tasted more like what I was used to for ambers. A solid choice from this brewery. The third and final stop of bar hopping would be for Barbarian Brewing, which had the largest selection of brews on tap in a place that had a bit of an outdoors flavor. They also offered live entertainment this evening with a great local bluegrass band called the Tater Patch. As for the drink of choice, that was the Barbarian Hefe, another Hefeweizen that would be my favorite of the night, and among my favorite Hefeweizens I've had yet. If I wasn't planning on an earlier morning the next day, I would have had a bit more, but the exploring of Boise would continue the next day. Before the long drive up to Spokane, I got an early start exploring more of downtown Boise, which included their unique urban park, Jump. This park is surrounded by office buildings on private property that is open to the public for enjoying the unique artwork on display. The open green spaces and oversized playground equipment, including a large slide from the 5th floor of the parking garage. All around the grounds are various tractors that have been used for farming over the years, with some on display in the park space, and some in the parking garage where they can be found among vehicles of those enjoying a visit to Jump. Walking further into the city, there's a neat tribute to the state's counties on Capitol Boulevard. These small signs offer a symbol or fun fact about each county, such as Washington County being home to the National Old Time Fiddle Contest. Alongside of Capitol Boulevard is one of the more fascinating sections of Boise, known as the Basque Block. This is the part of Boise which saw many immigrants from the Basque country of northern Spain and southern France, who came to the western United States, where the men served as shepherds and the women worked in boarding houses around Boise. One of the features of the block is the Basque mural, which portrays the original Basque homeland, the people and their traditions, and their new home in Idaho. Within the Basque Block, there are several historic buildings with signage that shares the story of that building, from boarding houses to meeting halls. You can visit the likes of the Basque Museum and Cultural Center, or see the oldest surviving brick dwelling of Boise. You can also enjoy a meal at a few Basque-inspired restaurants, such as Bar Guernica or Leku Ona. There's also the Basque Market, which offers items of the Basque country. Unfortunately, because I was meeting my friend Rick in Spokane, I couldn't stay long enough to really explore these places, but they're high on my list for a return visit to the Idaho capital. Originally, I was going to head north through the forests of Idaho for a more scenic route, but the area wildfires led me to decide that the quicker route would be better, going back on I-84 through the northeast corner of Oregon, then crossing back over the Columbia River into Washington to head northwest on US 395. When I got to the area of the Spokane airport, there was a bit of time before Rick would arrive, so I found a sports bar in the Northern Quest Casino to watch the announcement of the Seattle Kraken expansion draft picks, and hung out a bit after until it was time to pick him up. The following morning was the original reason for this short trip in the first place, a return visit to Silverwood so Rick could get his ride on Stunt Pilot. As we entered the park, we went straight to Stunt Pilot, where the first of several changes could be seen from the ride's opening day, as the park had given the famous Roller Coaster Alley sign a new look, removing the names of the two wooden coasters and adding an illustrated tribute to the park's 4 major coasters. The ride itself had several touches added to the theming since opening day, including the insignias of different air groups and fighter squadrons inside the station, and an image of an open hayloft that was added to the barn. We ended up with 4 rides on Stunt Pilot, along with a spin on Tremors and Timber Terror. I'd still say Stunt Pilot is the best coaster in the Pacific Northwest, as it was just as exciting as it was on opening day. Unfortunately, we only had a few hours before we needed to head back to Seattle for Rick to catch a flight, but that wasn't the end of our coaster travels for this week. Thank you for watching this Coasting with Culture video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click the subscribe button below to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones, which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.